I'm Arun Nambiar, faculty in the Department of Industrial Technology. I use the Affordable Learning Solution Initiative in a couple of my classes actually. I use it in one of my IT 148 Project Management and Control classes where I replaced a current textbook which had 4th edition and 5th edition. I replaced that with a set of 3 open source textbooks which I got from Merlot. I also use my own material for a couple of other classes, for example IT 106, which is an energy conversion class. It had a prescribed textbook which was about $72. I replaced that with material that I created myself. And for another of my classes, which is IT 184, Advanced Manufacturing and Technology, which is a class that I kind of developed from scratch, and so there also I use my own material instead of going with a regular textbook. My main concern is the price of the textbooks for the students, and also since a lot of material is available online for free, I think it makes perfect sense for us faculty to adopt these free resources, or at least come up with our own resources for the students, because with rising costs of tuition and all that, I think there's a little bit that we can do to reduce the cost of the students. That would be really helpful. I am an Affordable Learning Solutions faculty. Pros are definitely that it's a lot cheaper for the students, or in fact in my case it was no cost for the students. And the cons I would say is that it's a lot more work for me in terms of preparing the material, but I think that's more like a one-time deal where once we have the material, then it's just a matter of updating it continuously to stay current with the development in the course. So I think the pros are more than the cons, in my opinion, primarily from the student's perspective. And having gone through the graduate education quite recently myself, I can understand how that is really a pro for the students because it cuts down the cost immensely. The Merlot, I was familiar with Merlot through my other activities. I serve as the editor of engineering on Merlot, so I was fairly familiar with the material on Merlot. So it was a little easier for me to find the material there, but although I think Merlot has changed their interface quite a bit now, and it is a lot easier to find material on Merlot, and they have categorized it by topics and by course or by discipline. And the nice thing about Merlot is that most of the material there is peer reviewed by other faculty from various other institutions, and the editors of these various portals also review the material, so it goes through at least 2 or 3 reviews before you use it. So I think that lends a lot of credibility to the open source resources from Merlot especially. I mean, the other thing I would add is really, I think this is a really good initiative that the campus is supporting, and I think more and more faculty need to get involved in it, and so that we can reduce the cost overall to all students across various courses, and that would be significant. I think that would make a significant impact on the financial burden for the students.